We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs and Health Food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need. Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off.
Well, if we're here, it must be Thursday, and this must be Gracefully and Frankly. And I know I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. Welcome to episode 49. I'm Lisa Brandt.
I can assure you she knows what she's talking about. I'm Erin Davis, and we are so glad to have you with us for what's going to be a rip-roaring episode. I tested negative.
Yay.
I'm feeling positive.
Yay.
There's going to be a song. I'm going to break into song, but no, I'd better not. Okay, I have a fridge hack that is going to save Christmas. Actually, it's going to save you a bunch of money into the new year and forever and ever if you decide to do this. Tell you about that coming up.
Can't wait to try it. Also, alone time. Even if you have a partner who you love to be with, isn't it nice to have a little bit of time on your own?
Yes, and what for Lisa is the new running around the house naked.
Right.
Deck the halls, blah, 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 blah. We're going to talk about this time of year and how challenging it can be, but how it's all in your head. And in the case of glitter, everywhere else, okay?
That's right. And flight delays. You know what's wrong with airlines having flight delays? It's all because of people. If only there weren't people involved, but there are.
Go figure.
And people like their things, and this is one of the issues.
You can bet all those FedEx flights go on time. You know why?
No people. You're not allowed to ship people?
No, you're not. Found that out the hard way. But no, of course, pilots and crew are people. That's not what we mean. What we mean is it's going to be a great episode, so don't miss a second of it. And we want to thank the people, namely Kim and Kathy, the co-founders of Envy Pillow.
Yes, where we rest our heads every night on the Envy Pillow, ENVY, envypillow.com.
Exactly. You know about the vitamins you take and the minerals you take and the things we're supposed to take to keep us healthy. But what about copper? You heard me, copper. Copper.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. Copper kills 99.9% of harmful microorganisms, boosts skin health and cell regeneration, minimizes fine lines and wrinkles so you can get more glitter in there, regulates your temp for a good night's sleep, and is more hygienic. Why am I talking about copper, Lisa?
Because it's one of the main exciting components of Envy Pillow, along with natural latex.
And so comfortable. So when you put this on your Christmas or holiday list, just say, look, it's good for me. You don't understand because Erin and Lisa don't understand, but it's true. Go to Envy Pillow, ENVY pillow.com to find out more. Get 10% off anything you choose just by using the code GF. Oof, last day of November. It's coming. It's coming. Christmas is coming.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah, that's for sure. Oh.
I get most of my shopping done early. It never bothers me that much. My whole thing is to reduce stress as much as humanly possible. Derek gets all bent out of shape over the commercialization of it. And I get that, but that's a train you're not going to stop. So God grant me the serenity type of thing, you know?
Yep. But I mean, we've made it through Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and of course, Giving Tuesday with so many in need right in our communities and around the world. Can't forget that. And you were supporting small business. You went into your little town of Port Stanley and they did their Dickens night. What was that about again?
It's Dickens Day. So it's like an old-timey Christmas. There's carolers and they roast marshmallows for you if you want. And everybody's got sales on. So my neighbor Carol and I go down every time and just do as much Christmas shopping as we can. As it turned out, it was mostly shopping for ourselves. But that's okay. That's okay. We visit all the merchants and invest in the local economy.
Was there wassailing? Don't tell me you were wassailing because you go crazy when you wassail.
We wassled. There was some definite wassailing going on there, I have to admit.
The stores in Port Stanley, it's kind of like in Sydney, BC here, these small towns or small cities even that have just the best clothing stores. I bought a necklace and pair of earrings in one of the stores that you and I hit in our flurry in Port Stanley. And I lost one of the earrings when I was in Toronto last week. So, I mean,
No.
it's just a cheapish set. But
Yeah.
you could have gone and seen if there was maybe one lying on the floor or something. They didn't need any more for that set. Oh, well.
So are you ready for Christmas? Like, are you decorating this year? What's going on?
Well, this year we have decided to embrace it. And I mean, we did last year. We went for years and years with no Christmas at all. Either we were in California or our first year after losing our daughter, we just left the country altogether and just stayed in a house where we didn't have to do anything. And we just have kind of done it at our own pace. But I got to tell you, a 6-minute drive from our house lives Mrs. Claus. The rest of the year, she goes by the name Brooke Shirakawa. But she is full on Christmas. This girl cannot wait until even the hint of a leaf changing color happens, because then she starts into fall mode and Halloween mode and then Christmas mode. So everything that I put up, I go, well, it's good, but it's not Brooke good. So I've never had that kind of standard, you know, and so that voice is in my head, and I'm asking her to come and help me because she's helped with the tree and she makes beautiful bows and she does a lot of beautiful decorating. But the point I'm eventually getting to here is Christmas is really, really big in their family. And last year it was brought to our attention that we were kind of not the proverbial poop in the punch bowl, but we weren't exactly as excited or, you know, embracing of the whole thing as we could have been. We went through all the motions as best we could and had the smiles on and all of that. But this year we're really going all in because it matters the most to the kids. It's not about us. It's about embracing and choosing, because that's what all life is choices, right? Stuff happens and then you choose what you're going to do. You know that from Stoicism.
Yeah.
I know it from Dr. Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning. It's the last thing we have is our choice. So this year we have had installed lights outside. They're pot lights and they're going to be there all year round, and we can program them on our phone. They can be orange for Day of Reconciliation and Orange T-shirt Day. They can be red for Remembrance Day. They can be pastel for Easter, whatever we choose to do. So that is our huge big step, saying, okay, look, we're doing it this year. We are embracing. We're diving in.
You know, I'm torn when I think about this, because part of me thinks, well, have some empathy for the people who just aren't into it and don't want to do it. Part of me thinks that. And the other part of me thinks, yay, Brooke, for kind of pushing and forcing it a little bit and putting the kids at the forefront and saying, you know, we got to do this and step up. So once again, I'm of two minds. I'm firmly on the picket fence getting splinters.
Yes. Oh, and speaking of where you get splinters, can we talk about glitter? Oh my gosh. I don't know. Like, it'll be February before I'm finished. And I haven't even started wrapping, and half of that paper has glitter on it too. Oh.
Have you got it everywhere?
Well, I do. I wrote a little poem. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's see if I can remember this. I made it up in the shower, and those are not always the best ideas, no matter what somebody tells you. Okay. I've got the glitter on my cheek, my chin, my face, my ear. My friendly gynecologist said, "Oh, look, I found some here." So there. There's my glitter poem.
That's good.
Thank you.
And probably accurate. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm tracking it into bed. It's in the kitchen. It's just everywhere.
It's also a bad movie starring Mariah Carey. So there you go. There's nothing good about glitter.
Geez, Mariah Carey. Every time you open a TikTok and there's a Christmas theme, there's that All I Want for Christmas. Holy doodle. Is she making money off of TikTok? I hope she is.
She's making money left, right, and center having written that song. So there you go.
I know she's glad American Thanksgiving is over because they can cryogenically unfreeze her and get her ready for all of her Christmas performances again. Okay, speaking of refrigeration, there's a segue for you. I read the neatest article in the Washington Post, and it spoke to me. It sang to me. It yelled at me. And I had to share it with you because I think that this might be a lot of people. Now, you know, I have a very casual relationship with expiry dates, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Just the other day, I was doing a slow cooker dinner, and I had a pork roast, and I was going to do pull-apart pork, and I needed something to give it some zing. And Rob and I weren't going out shopping for groceries or anything because I was testing positive until Monday. So I thought, oh, I know, I've got this bottle of salsa that if I open it, it's already been opened. But if I open it and it doesn't have moss on top, it's going to be good. So I couldn't find it. And Rob got on his hands and knees, and there it was at the back of the fridge at the bottom. And yeah, it wasn't red anymore. It was kind of a burnt orange, but it tasted fine. It wasn't fizzy. It was great. The meal was fantastic. So This all leads us to what the story is about your fridge. Now, we have our fridges, and if yours is like mine and probably ours, you have your drawers for your fruits and your vegetables. They call them the crispers. And that's where you're supposed to put the most perishable stuff on the bottom shelf because theoretically that's coldest, which I didn't really know. Did you know that?
The bottom shelf is coldest?
Yeah.
No, I did not know that.
Heat rises to the top, right?
Of course. That makes perfect sense.
Right. So this doctor, who's actually out of British Columbia, UBC, she has done a TED Talk. I'm going to have to watch this. Her name is Jiang Zhao. She's a behavioral scientist. Now you're thinking, well, where does behavioral science fit in your fridge, Erin? Well, I'm glad that you asked, Lisa. Go ahead and ask so people hear your voice.
What does behavioral science have to do with your fridge, Erin?
I'm glad you asked. Because we waste so much food in those drawers, the crispers, which are also known as the rotters. Here's what you do. You change the way you load your fridge. And God knows we are lucky if in these times of extremely expensive groceries and produce, if we can load our fridge, period. She says whenever she opens the fridge, she puts the fruits and vegetables and perishables in the door. Okay? Now you're thinking, wait a minute. We all know you shouldn't really put dairy in the door because you open the fridge the most, and that's kind of the warmest spot in the fridge. And that's a good point, but she's saying it's better that they should wilt a little tiny bit faster than have them rot away and waste food in the drawers.
That makes sense because out of sight, out of mind, right?
Exactly.
I call my crispers palliative care for produce.
It's so true.
It is, isn't it? And you open it up and go, oh, wow, I had a red pepper in there. That's a really neat idea. I would love to know, and I'm going to find out because I'm going to do this, what it does to the lifespan, if it really does make a difference. I think seeing some romaine lettuce or something in the door every time I open the fridge would guilt me into eating it. I have a salad every day, don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean? Like, just kind of like, I'm here for you.
Yeah, she says the first organizing principle is FIFO. That's not F around and find out. That's FAFO. That's something completely different. This is first in, first out. And it's a storage strategy that companies and warehouses use to manage their inventory more efficiently. So you keep all the oldest items in your fridge front and center, rather than allowing them to be gradually shoved into forgotten and rancid corners at the back of the shelf. The newest food goes straight to the back and slowly works its way forward as you eat the older items first.
You know, I mean, I worked at a convenience store when I was a kid, and that's, of course, what you do. You get the new milk from the company, gets trucked in, you put all that to the back because you want the older stuff to get sold. I mean, it just makes sense. And yet we go home to our fridges and just shove everything in. Oh, my goodness. This is brilliant. Yeah.
I know. It really is. She says it's especially important to foreground raw meat, produce, and dairy that are getting older because in many cases they'll only last a few days in the refrigerator. Durable items like beverages, condiments, They can stay on that bottom shelf. They can be at the very back in the periphery. I mean, most of us keep our ketchup and mustard and relish and all of our favorite things that we only use like once a week, once every 2 or 3 weeks in the door. Put that stuff down at the bottom in the back because they have longer shelf lives.
Of course. Are you going to do it?
You know what? Once I get Rob on board, I'm absolutely going to do it because loading the fridge is a little bit like loading the dishwasher. Every part of a couple or member of a family has their own way to do it.
Right.
And I do think we can keep our half and half or whatever in the door where we're going to access it and we need it. But gee, the idea of putting in there the things that are going to go bad first, it makes so much sense.
It does. That's why we don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, the author is Jiang Zhao, a behavioral scientist at University of British Columbia. You can look it up. She's got a TED Talk. And I think feng shui in your fridge, it's amazing. There's a certain sort of Jenga or feng shui even that goes on when you watch flight attendants manage where the bags go up above your head on an airplane. And yeah, there are going to be people who are traveling over the holidays. There were some pretty good airline sales the last couple of weeks during Cyber Monday, Black Friday, all of that sort of thing. It's still beastly expensive to travel. And so that's part of the reason that people are just loading as much as they can into their carry-on, right?
Yeah, and they're also taking on more than one item so that you're allowed a personal item and a carry-on for most places. So that personal item could be, I don't know, skis. But yeah, we saw it too. But I had no idea that it was one of the biggest causes of airline delays. I figured they worked in enough time to make sure that everybody got their stuff put away all right. And that had nothing to do with what time the flight takes off. But it's so disorganized. I had no idea that this is a fact.
I didn't either. And I was surprised to see last week that WestJet and Air Canada rank like 50th in North American airlines with on-time departures and arrivals.
Ooh.
They're saying that this is a big part of it. Now, this is a multi-pronged problem. And one of the things is what you mentioned. There are people who are trying to stuff things under their seat and the flight attendant comes along and says, no, that can't be there because it's a safety hazard. If people are trying to exit the airline, they're going to trip all over that giant laptop bag that you think looks like a purse. And right. I'm guilty of that. But also, it's people who are boarding the plane and finding out that the storage above their seats is already taken. And then you've seen this. The flight attendants have to carry the bag and put it someplace else in the plane or figure out what's going to happen.
People hate that, too, because they want to be able to get to their bag once they're in the air. So stop taking so many things. And why is the airline letting people do this? I know I saw a photo go around in a meme of a woman with everything on her. Like she had a fanny pack sort of strapped to her. She had just everything strapped to her so they couldn't say it was a carry-on thing. Mm-hmm. But there are people who actually do that. It's like they're taking all their possessions with them, but they don't want to check a bag. And I get that too, because you get a nice cheap flight, cheap-ish, and then $60 to check a bag. And it's kind of like, well, that's not what we were agreeing to.
It's bait and switch to some extent. They're saying airfares with the sales last week. I was interested in a small BC airline to get over to the mainland to visit my dad and sister before Christmas. And it goes flights as low as $80. Well, as soon as you go there, all the $80 ones are gone. So it's like flights as low as $180. And once you factor in return, that's an expensive little trip to fly for an hour.
Yeah.
And then that's just with your own personal luggage. Now, this small airline, they make you leave your carry-on at the steps and they will put it on the little Dash 8 flight and you get it when you get off the steps. Huh. Totally okay. But they're not charging you for that carry-on. The other ones that are like the cheap flights, and then, it'll be $60 for your first checked bag. No wonder people are bundling up like Judy Garland trying to flee a hotel room that she hadn't paid for. And you've heard this story, right?
Yes.
Making her and Liza put on every bit of clothes they had, and then they kind of walk out like the Michelin Man trying to get out of the hotel. So something has to give. We have to stop with this false advertising. Sure, if you're going to Vegas for an overnight and all you're going to need is a change of underwear and a lipstick, great, good on you. But there's also the thing that happens at the gate. And you've seen this and we've seen this repeatedly. This happened on our flight back from wherever a couple of weeks ago. No, my flight back from Toronto.
Yeah.
And they said, we are looking for 30 passengers who would like to check their carry-on. There will be no charge, but please come and check your carry-on. This is a full flight. They know it's a full flight. They know it's going to happen.
Yep.
What is that all about?
Isn't that overbooking to make sure that the flight is full or something? It doesn't make sense to me either. I went through that just when we went to Italy. It was the exact same thing. It was, let us take your carry-on. And everybody's looking at each other. Nobody wanted to do it. And I don't blame them.
The stuff in our carry-on is the stuff we cannot do without.
Exactly.
Like the electronics or medication and all those things that they tell you to keep with you. No, I'm not letting this go. I want to give for the greater good, but I've got to have my carry-on with me, especially in your case where you're traveling across the ocean and yeah, you're going to have to access some of your stuff in there.
So we did your trick of putting half my clothes in his bag and half in mine in case our luggage got lost. So then we have emergency underwear, like an emergency change of clothes in the carry-on. There's no way I'm giving that up because if everything else gets lost, that's all I have.
Also, the reason that we're going with carry-on is not always just economical. It's because we want to dash the second we get off the plane. Like when I landed in Toronto, I had to book it to get from Terminal 3 to Terminal 1 to catch the last train before 11 o'clock at night to downtown Toronto.
Right.
We all know how long it takes to get your bags at Pearson and many other airports.
Yeah.
So if you got your stuff with you, you can just fly once you land. So there's that as well. And one more thing, I have a question for you.
Oh.
Somebody posted this on Threads the other day, and I am at Erin Dawn Davis on Threads now. You're on Threads as well, Lisa?
Yeah, but I keep forgetting I'm there.
Jeez.
I think I'm Lisa M. Brant 1 like I am everywhere else, but
okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so the question was, are you like me? Do you stack the empty trays after you've been through security like it's your job? And I'm like, yes,
yeah.
I do that. I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then push it gently toward the person who's there. And they're never like, hey, thanks, or they're not mean about it either. They just kind of accept that there are people like me who think that at the end of the day, you're going to get some points for doing something good.
That's right. Somebody's pointing down a big hand from heaven and they're going to applaud you or whatever. I'm the same way, though. I don't like to leave things with the assumption that it's someone else's problem, but that is their job. So
yeah, it is. But I also know it's not a great job.
You know what else isn't a great job anymore is apparently retail. A friend was telling me that one of the reasons that self-checkouts are so prevalent now isn't so much that stores are trying to replace workers, it's that they can't find them.
I get that.
So this is their way of making up for that. The self-checkout at my local grocery store, they now have a limit, so I can't go through it usually. I mean, if I go there and get a decent number of items. But I started using the self-checkout because there was a woman there, a cashier, who just was Eeyore.
Oh,
and the minute I come through, she's telling me everything that's wrong with her job and her shift and her kids and everything else. It's like, oh my goodness, it's 8:15 in the morning. I don't need this. I didn't ask for this. I'm empathetic, but not right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe that'll change some people's minds about self-checkout. Maybe it won't.
There's a chain in England that has stopped. They have eliminated self-checkouts. And I was wondering, too, last Thursday for American Thanksgiving, did the self-checkouts have the day off to spend time with their families? I was wondering about that. But they have stopped it because they want people to have the jobs. And the problem is, of course, finding the people to do the jobs. That's what our situation is here. And there are folks who will stand in line getting ready for the human checkout saying, well, I'm not doing that. I want people to make sure they have jobs. Well, we all do. But if people aren't wanting the jobs, then what are we to do? Pay more.
That's kind of the overriding factor since the pandemic, right? Is that all the people who are taken for granted for so long, those are the jobs that seem to be the hardest to fill. In the trades, I've talked about that a million times, but how there's all these construction projects going on and there aren't people to fill them. And a lot of these harder jobs, if you can find a way. There's one guy I know who got out of construction and is now delivering for Instacart because you get to check. And we're not sponsored by Instacart, but you get to check all the orders that come in and pick the ones you want. So you pick the highest tippers and,
right.
And you just do what you want, right? You're in your own car and you do your own thing.
Yeah.
And
speaking of tippers, next week I have a quiz for you. How well do you know tipping? And of course, this is the time of year where the cynics would say everybody has their hand out. But it's also a time to show your appreciation and to be a little more generous. I always look at it like, in our case, they need the money more than we do. I'll leave $10 in the hotel room instead of $5 just for a night or something like that. But we'll have to talk about tipping next week because this is, of course, the time of year. But can we leave on a sleepy note?
Okay.
I'm not plugging my sleep podcast. I wish that I could because I don't listen to it at night, Lisa. I can't because I keep thinking, well, I could have done that differently or,
you're your own worst critic like we all are.
Of course. But I like going to bed tucked in on my envy pillow is this little disc speaker and it's a pillow speaker. And I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to listen to podcasts in bed at night and not disturb their partner. But this past week, until I tested negative Monday, Rob sort of self-quarantined in our guest bedroom, which is the Lisa Brandt bedroom. I mean, let's be honest. Thank you for letting him occupy the bed for a little bit.
Yeah, I got the paperwork. It's all good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It'll be thoroughly cleaned before you come next.
And sanitized?
Yes, even the remote. I promise, even the TV remote. Okay. He self-quarantined. It was just Dottie and me in our bed. And it's still, though, she's so cuddled up next to me. She is so nesting, and I'm her mama. Well, she's about to be a mama. But it's been nice. I can't even say that. And he won't hear this as we're editing and getting ready to put it up. But he goes off to that bedroom and I go to our room and I get to play my spelling bee on the New York Times after midnight when it drops. And I'm doing my Wordle and I'm answering emails. And then I put on a podcast and I listen to podcasts that should be boring and put me to sleep. The whole point is I don't have to use my pillow speaker when he's not there. So I've got it on my phone and it's playing. That's just a little tiny luxury. And I wouldn't be without him for anything. I love Rob more than anything. And I'm grateful for our 36, 37 years together. I'm starting to get hoarse. I guess my COVID voice is kicking in. But yeah, sorry. But it is a guilty pleasure a little bit, isn't it, when your partner kind of steps out for a bit?
Well, I get that because Derek was away for a full day on the weekend, last weekend. And I start thinking, all right, how am I going to spend this day? For starters, I'm not going to put my hearing aids in all morning long.
Ooh.
I'm going to have a day without these things stuck in my ears. That's exciting.
That's the new running around the house naked is not having your hearing aids in.
There you go. There you go. But I do understand. And by the same token, I make sure that he gets that too. That he gets a day or a night or whatever without me there and that he gets to spend some time joyously celebrating however it is he does. And I don't want to think about that.
Probably watching more NASCAR.
You know what he's watching? He's watching Mentalist reruns. He has seen the entire run of The Mentalist probably 4 or 5 times, and he puts one on, and it's just like having a bowl of chicken noodle soup and a grilled cheese. It makes him comfy and cozy and warm.
For Rob, it's watching football when I'm not around because he's the world's greatest husband. He doesn't watch football. I mean, we watched it when the Grey Cup finals were happening and then Grey Cup. But other than that, it's not something he likes, and it is something I detest. So, yay. But yeah, here's to the fellas giving us our time. And again, I know there are people listening who say, I would do anything to have an hour with my husband or with my wife, and we get that. And we never stop being grateful in our presence and having them present. But once in a while, it's nice.
Once in a while, a little alone time.
Yeah. And knowing that if you turn over, that's not foreplay. That's just you turning over, you know? It never ends.
Leave my glitter butt alone.
Exactly. All right. What do you got planned for December? I mean, more podcasts with me, of course, Lisa, but anything big coming your way?
Not massive. I've got lots of visiting with people and dinners and very social since we've moved to Port Stanley. I used to hide like a hermit because of my hours in radio, and it's very nice to not have to worry about that.
Are you going to be wearing masks more? Because I'm not flying without a mask ever again. I had it on my flight. One of my sisters goes, "Oh, let me guess, you weren't masking on the flight." And I thought, how to blame the victim? And no, you're wrong. I had the mask on the whole time.
No, I don't know. It just all depends on the situation, I suppose. I didn't mask on my last flights, and I just don't feel it right now. Very few people are. That's got nothing to do with my decision, though.
But it does. When more people are masked, you go, okay, this is all right. The human psyche is a very strange thing.
Well, I guess you're right. If everybody was, I obviously would.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel it for me. We'll see. There's no guarantees.
Even with the numbers in the Ontario wastewater, they're showing that COVID is really hitting. It's the EG5 variant now. It's a whole new ballgame, and I'm just so lucky so far not to have experienced long COVID. Of course, time will tell, and this is my second go-round. You do you, but stay healthy. We got a podcast to do.
Oh, great. Okay.
Sick or not?
Warning has been issued.
Okay. We will talk to you again next week, my dear. Thanks for a fun episode 49.
All right. Thanks to Envy Pillow, too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.